welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to do a sushi bake. I don't know if any of you guys heard what a sushi bake is, but basically it's a layered, how do I explain this? A layered recipe, basically using rice and just stuff you would use in regular sushi basically. I love this recipe as it's so easy to make. It's also really good, and also it's one of the best things you can bring to like a party because it literally only takes like 40 minutes to make. What you're going to need for your recipe today is some sushi rice. I bought this one. This is from TNT. If you're from Vancouver, that's what we usually have down here. I bought some salmon. I usually use fresh salmon, but fresh salmon for some reason is so expensive right now. So I just bought the canned ones. They're $4 each, so we're gonna use these today. You're gonna need some cream cheese. A lot of people don't really use cream cheese in sushi bake, but I think it tastes way better with cream cheese. I don't know, for some reason it just tastes way better to me. You're going to need some spring onions, some cucumbers, some furikake. I got two different flavors because I like to layer it. So the first one's going to be just the regular sesame and seaweed mix. Oh my lord, I'm so sorry. And my next one is going to be the katsu one. This katsu one has some sesame, some bonito, some sugar. Usually it's what's used on top of takoyaki or okonomiyaki. This one's really good as well. This is very optional too. I like to put some mushrooms in it and some little bit of onion. And then what you're also going to need, well, is some crab. I usually get the imitation crab, but I saw this one and I want to try this one better. I want to try this one instead because it just seems more fresh than the imitation crab that I usually get. So we're going to use this. And then last but not least, you're going to need your packed seaweeds. I usually get the big one of the sushi seaweed, and I usually cut it into squares, but again, for some reason it's more expensive than buying a whole pack, which I'll show you. I bought this box for $6 at TNT, and the regular sheet sushi for seaweed is like $7. So I was like, why would on earth would I get this cheap one? But I'm just gonna cut it up anyways. So yeah, that is what you're going to need for your recipe today. So let's get to it.
So what we're first going to do is we're going to start rinsing our sushi rice. As you can see here in our rice cooker, we do have a measurement inside, which kind of tells us how much cups or half a cup you'd want to put inside. So first we're going to start off with the 1 cup of rice inside the rice cooker. Ours is pretty small, so we can only fit a cup in there, but that's pretty much what you're going to need for 1 tray anyways. So we're going to go grab some water, and what we like to usually do is we like to rinse our water first before we start cooking. So what we do here is we put the water inside and we just mix it a little bit and just kind of get through the rice a little bit. I don't know, it's something that my mom used to teach me, just to rinse it out first and then throw away your water. So once you're done that, you're going to add 1 1/4 cup of water into the pot. Again, this is a smaller rice cooker, so the measurements will be different than every other rice cooker that you guys have. So once we get that water inside, we're just going to leave it for about half an hour for the water to boil and also for the rice to cook itself. You also want to do this a little bit beforehand, before prepping it. Usually the rice is better when it's a little bit cold, not when it's extremely hot. So first we are going to prep our veggies. Usually for sushi bake, people don't really add any veggies to it. It's mostly just the meat. But for me, I prefer to have a little bit of veggies in it. So I love to put some onions, some mushrooms, spring onions. It's up to everyone's preference and what they want to put in their sushi bake. There's no specific recipe on what to do and what to put in your sushi bake. I love sushi bake. I've been making it for so long. My boyfriend's cousin in Seattle used to make it for us all the time, but since COVID started, I was craving it and we can't pass the border, so I had to find my own way of making this version for myself. So yeah, I mean, it's all up to what you guys want to put in your sushi bake. There's no rules in what you have to do and what you need to put into it. So we're basically just going to start chopping up the spring onions and just getting them into small pieces because no one likes big pieces of spring onions. Excuse the way I cut because I barely cook. If anyone has any tips on how to cook or chop vegetables, please link it down below. That would be great. I like to either use the oyster mushrooms or even king mushrooms. They just taste way tastier than like enoki mushrooms. As you can see here, I am deciding to switch my knife because it's just not working out for me. Again, I don't really cook, so I just like chop and chop and chop. And as you can tell, my fingers are in the way. So again, if anyone has any tips about cooking, please let me know in the comments below. But yeah, so just keep chopping away to your mushrooms. I like to use a lot of them because I love mushrooms. But it's up to your own preference and how much you want to put inside of your sushi bake. Next step is we are going to prepare our meat. This is the one that I usually use, which is the imitation crab sticks. But for this one, I wanted to try the other crab in the other package as that one looked way fresher than the imitation crab and sticks. If anyone has ever used imitation crab that are sticks, there is a way for you to make them really thin. What you would do, as you can see in the video, is I place them down, take a fork, and just like kind of brush through the body of the imitation crab stick. That will split them into small pieces like strings. This one was from the freezer and I left it in the fridge to defrost. It is a little bit frozen, which is a little bit, which is why it's breaking a little bit. But most of the time you can just kind of pull it through with the fork and it'll break very easily. So next we're going to prepare the other crab. This is a flake style, so it's more of thicker pieces. This is from Savon Foods. Savon Foods, it was about like $4 I think for the whole pack. It comes with a Ziploc top as well, which is good, so in case you don't use all of it, it's very easy to store away. You're going to take them out of the bag and you're just going to chop them into small pieces. They're pretty easy to cut actually. These are very soft, so which is pretty much why they're so flaky. They're really easy to chop. I just like to chop it a little more finely and then mix it in with the other imitation crab that we already have in the bowl prepared to go. Next, we are going to start preparing our salmon. So once you open it, I like to do it halfway and pour out the juice inside of the can, just because we don't really need it. So once you pour out the juice, you're just going to take it out of the can and start peeling it off to little pieces. Most of the time, the salmon in cans, they do come with the bones. So you need to make sure you take them out before putting them into your sushi bake. I know this looks a little weird once you take it out of the can. The look of tuna is not appetizing on this. I apologize, but it does taste very good. So as you can see here, I'm just starting to take it apart and I'm just going to take out the bones little by little on the side and then put whatever the meat is into the bowl so we're not mixing the bones into the actual food itself. We don't want to find that in our food and start choking. Those things hurt sometimes. So yeah, so just take them out of the salmon and put it into your bowl. So once we finish with all the meat, what we're going to do is we're going to add our Japanese mayo. What I like to use is the QP, I think is what it's called. Usually they're like $7 at TNT. This is a brand new one, so I'm just taking off the top of it. Again, sushi bake. There is no specific measurements. It's all by how you want it to taste. I usually put about probably 4 tablespoons of mayo. Okay, that looks a little bit more than 4 tablespoons of mayo. But honestly, mayo is just so good. And I like to put 2 scoops of cream cheese in it. I also like to get the spreadable cream cheese because they're more softer than the block cream cheese and they're easier to mix. So once I put those 2 scoops into there, we're just going to go ahead and mix it all together. You're going to know when it's mixed properly when basically everything is all gathered into the mayo and to the cream cheese. Once we're done mixing the meat, we're just going to slowly add in the veggies that we're going to add to our spread. I like to do it little by little, so I make sure that everything is all gathered into the sauce that we have inside of it and the meat. And just kind of go, it's just less messy if I do it little by little. Just keep mixing it around until you have everything all gathered in the mayo and the cream cheese. You can also add little by little after you taste of more of this mayo and the cream cheese. It's all up to your own preference and how you want it to taste. So pretty much once it looks like this, or you got to what you want to get, your spread is pretty much complete. So once that is all complete, during the process your rice should have been done by now. You would have let it cool down for a bit. We're going to start preparing it. So what we like to do is we're going to put it into a bowl. We like to use half of the pot usually, but this one is such a small rice cooker, you're going to use the whole thing. So once you scoop all the rice into your bowl, you're going to add little by little of the rice vinegar. There is no measurements in what you want to put in the rice for the rice vinegar. I usually do like about 2 to 3 spoonfuls of the rice vinegar and mix it slowly into the pot little by little while adding the rice onto it. So this is where the fun begins. Once you have all your ingredients ready, you're going to get a tray. What you're going to start doing first is you're going to get your rice and put it at the bottom of your tray and just flatten it and spread it out. This will give it the first layer of our sushi bake. I'm using more of a thinner tray just because I don't want too much rice onto the actual pan itself. I want more of the meat on top than rice. A lot of people use the larger pans and end up filling half the pan of rice in it. I like to put more meat over rice. I don't know. I would just prefer to get more meat than rice, obviously. But yeah, so you're just going to spread it out evenly, push it down, make it as flat as possible. And once you've completed that, we're going to start adding our second layer onto the rice. So once the rice is all complete, I just basically give a little bit of a pat down. We're going to add our furikake. We'll do 1 layer of the first flavor, which is the roasted sesame. We're going to go ahead and put that onto our pan and just spread it out all over the rice. Once you spread that out all over the rice, we're going to start putting our crab meat onto the plate, which will be our, I would say, second layer, but not really, almost third, since we just put the furikake in. So this will be the top layer, so go ahead and put it all on top of your pan. If you'd like, people do sometimes put a little bit of the meat in the middle and then a little bit of rice on top. It is all up to your own preference and how you want to do this, but I usually leave the meat on top just because I feel like that's too much rice for me. So once we go ahead and spread that all on the top, we are going to, once that layer is all done, we're going to go ahead and add more of that furikake first one, and then we're going to add the second flavor, which is the bonito one. The bonito one is not as salty as the seaweed one, so I usually put a little bit more of this flavor onto it. There are a bunch of different flavors of furikake that you can't even imagine. And then the last but not least, we're going to add a little bit more mayo just on top, and voila! You have your sushi bake ready to go. And I did forget to mention that once you're doing this, please preheat the oven at 450. This will take about 15 minutes once you put it into the oven, and it'll be ready to go. And this is the final product. Oh my god, I'm already imagining eating this. I didn't film it, but usually what you would do is you would take your seaweed, take a scoop of that sushi bake, put it on top, and eat it like a cone. It just tastes so good, and it's just so crispy, especially with the seaweed. I didn't have time to film it because I had people over, and I just didn't want the background noise to be there, but what you guys think of this recipe, and send pictures down below. I mean, can you put pictures in comment sections? I don't really know. But anyways, yeah,
Hope you guys can like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.